What's up, guys? So in today's video you will learn how to build this landing page using Astro and Tailwind CSS. So let's take a quick look at what we'll be building. So we have this navigation or header section right here with some links, and if you scroll down we have this hero section with a button that has an overstate to it. We also have this feature section. We still have this called the productive section with a link as well. We have the testimonial section. We have a newsletter section, and also have a footer section. So if we come to the newsletter and try adding an email, so let's say john@gmail.com, and I click on get started for free, you see that that email has been subscribed, and we're actually storing the email on our Astro DB, which you can access from our Astro Studio. And if we try adding that email again, you see that the email already exists and the email won't be added the second time. So this is what we'll be building. Hopefully by the end of this video you might have learned the basic concept of how Astro works. So let's dive right into it. Alright, so before we jump into VS Code and start coding, I just wanted to do a quick run through of what Astro is. And this is not an Astro course, but I'll try as much as possible to explain as much as I can. So Astro is a JavaScript web framework that helps you build static websites. Unlike traditional frameworks that often focuses on single page applications with lots of JavaScript, Astro is basically designed to generate your HTML at build time, which will minimize the amount of JavaScript that needs to be loaded in the browser, and it also makes your website a lot faster. And in a nutshell, I basically see Astro as HTML but with more superpowers. That's how I see it. And there are some key features I like about it. The first one is a server first approach, which means that Astro generates static HTML page during build process, which means that when a user visits your website, they get a pre-rendered HTML page instead of waiting for JavaScript to load and render the content. So it's already on the server. So as soon as a user visits your website, they get sent the static HTML of your website. And the benefit, like I said earlier, the benefit of it is that it results in faster load times and better performance, especially for content heavy sites like blogs, portfolios, and marketing sites. Another cool thing I like about it is the component-based architecture. So Astro allows you to use components from different frameworks like React, Vue, and the likes. And the cool thing is that you can mix them in a single project. I don't know why you would do that, but it's possible if you want to do that. And the reason of integrating this is because of what we called Astro Islands. Like I said, the HTML is being generated excuse me, the HTML is being generated at build time, which means there's no JavaScript initially. So if you want to add JavaScript, to your website, you can do that by bringing in a framework of your choice. That island is the section where you want to add interactivity to. I hope I make sense. So that's just a quick run through of Astro, and I don't know if I said this. Astro can work with any content, so you can use external APIs, load files from your system directly, and you can also work with any CMS of your choice. And like I said, we'll be using Tailwind CSS for styling, but you can add different styles or different CSS frameworks as well. Alright, so the first tool we're going to do is actually to create our Astro project. So if we head back to the website, you can actually do that by running npm create Astro. So I'll copy this right here and I'll head over to VS Code and I'll paste this. So before I run this, make sure you do have Node.js installed on your system, and you can check if you have that installed by just saying node-v. So if you don't get a version, means you have to go to node.org and download it, and the process is quite simple. So let's paste this right now, and I'll add a period which signifies that we're going to be creating the Astro project on this our current folder. So I'll hit enter right now. They have some sample files template you can use. They also have a block template, but we're going to start with an empty template. So do you plan to write TypeScript? Yes. Yeah, strict. Yes, and we'll initialize a new GitHub repo. Alright, so project has been initialized. So the first thing we need to do, so if we run npm run dev right now, so it's telling me console ninja extension is connected to Astro. I will talk about what this is shortly. So it gives us this port right here. So 4321 is like mimicking the launch of a rocket. So we'll paste this right here and we'll just open it. So while we're at it, let's just shrink this down. Shrink this down as well. Alright, cool. So we have this template, which is an empty template with just Astro, because that's the one we chose. So that is being accessible on this index.astro page right here. And if you make any changes, the changes should so the changes coming in. I don't know why that delayed. Let's just get rid of it and see. I don't know why that is delaying. I'll try and refresh and add a new one. So this is coming from the issue right now. Why this is delaying, I think it's coming from my Astro file. Okay, I think it's working fine now. All right, cool. So we have some folders and files which I'll quickly do a run through of. So the public folder is where you want to store your assets or your images you want to access publicly from your website. So if you have an actual domain, you can just actual website like this one we hosted, you can just do that and get the particular favicon or the particular image directly. But we won't be making use of that because we'll be storing our images inside the source folder, which we'll look into shortly. Let me close this out. This astro.config is basically where you will add different integrations and other necessary configurations. Also have package.json file, and inside this source we have a pages directory and we have this index file. So the reason of these pages directly is that Astro uses what we call file-based routing. So if we want to add another page to our website now, we'll just need to add that page inside this folder directly. So we just say about the Astro, and we can just create a section right here, and we say about. So if we go to about right now, we'll see that about. So the file-based routing is provided to us out of the box, and we don't need to worry about setting up our own. Alright, cool. So for the page right here, you see that we have 6 hyphens rather, but they are called code fence or front matter. So basically the things you have to put here is things related to your JavaScript logic. So if we say const amount, or just a const name, I'll put in Lawrence. We can just bring in the name using the curly brackets and passing the name right here. So the name should show right here, and you can also add different imports and other cool stuff. Okay, so before let's get rid of this one. Let me bring this back to Astro. So before we start building the project, let's just go to our extensions, and you need to have this Astro plugin. So you can just search for Astro. It should be the first one to pop up. It's actually verified, so you can just download it. And the cool thing about it is that it gives you highlighting, autocomplete, and it just makes the developer experience more better. All right, so I need to bring in the image we'll be using. So all the images we'll be using, I need to just bring them in and store them on our source folder, which I will do right now. All right, so we have the images we'll be using. Like I said earlier on, the link to the entire code will be in the description in order for you to follow along. And now what we have to do is we need to add Tailwind to our Astro project. So go to Astro, just close this out for now. I think we don't need this again, we'll just leave this one. So we'll go to the documentation and we'll just search for Tailwind. I think it's this one. So you can just do that by just saying px add Astro. Then we'll do that here. Let's just create a new shell and paste this. So we say yes. So as it's installing, once the process is done, Tailwind is going to be integrated on our Astro file, and this astro.config is going to be updated as well. Alright, so we have Tailwind on our Astro file. So if we go to our astro.config, here we see that it's been added to our integrations right here. So we'll clear this out, and what we want to do next is basically we want to install two things. The first one will be Astro Tailwind Prettier. So this should be it. So essentially it's just to make writing our Tailwind in a nice orderly manner. So we just copy this one. So I don't need this prettier. So copy this and go over to this and say npm I, paste this right here. So before you hit enter, make sure you install it as a dev dependency because we don't need it on production. So you hit enter and that should install. So while that is installing, we'll go to our Tailwind config, and I'm going to add some of the themes we will be using. So instead of just leveraging Tailwind's theme, we're adding the custom one or the one I defined to make the development process faster. All right, I've brought in the Tailwind configurations we'll be needing. So for the colors now, we just have to just say CLR or text, then we add the primary and the number. So all these will be in the description. You can just copy it and follow along as well. So we'll bring in these font families in a bit, but let's check. Okay, so we have an error here. Don't know where that is coming from. So clear this. Okay, I'm previously running right here. So let's see if those dependencies were installed. Okay, yeah. So let's quickly set it up right now. So we go to the root file and just create a prettier the RCC file, and while we're at it, let's just copy everything right here, paste it. So we only need these two files. So let's just test if it's working. So if we go to the index file, we can see the class should be bg primary 100, then text should be white. Then I think let me try and add something else to this. So we see as media screen, text should be black. So the main aim of installing this is to get prettier or make the ordering of the sorting of Tailwind classes better. So if yours is not working for the Astro files, I recommend you just basically close your VS Code and open it, which I'm going to do. So I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I've restarted my VS Code and I just want to test it out again if it's working now. So if I say at medium screens, then text should be black. You see that the medium screen gets sorted to the last. So it's kind of using the regular way a CSS file should look like, rather than just having your CSS files scattered around. And when we bring in React, it's also going to work perfectly fine too, because we have the prettier for Tailwind, and this by default works with React, while this one works with Astro files. Alright, so we need to head back to our Tailwind config. I know we've not started writing any stuff right now because I just want to set things up, and we need to bring in this font family, and I think we have some font icons here, so we just bring those two, and that should be about it. So we see for the font family, I know what's best is that I should just bring it in. So let me just copy it and paste it right now. All right, so I copied the font from fonts.google, and as well as the font awesome icons, and I pasted it on the Astro Docs index.astro file. So the first thing to do right now is that let me just get rid of all these styles right here. And you can see that this title is Astro by default. So if I change this to Philo landing page, you see that it gets changed right here as well. So the cool thing about Astro is that you can make the title of each of your websites unique, which will make SEO more better. So what we do right now is to essentially create should I call it, just a site info. I will just create an object that will have two properties. So the first one will be the title. Let me just copy this right here. And the second one should be description. So this can be whatever the website is. So we just say a landing page website. Then we cannot destroy, I say destroy. Then we cannot destructure these using Astro props. So we say const, put a curly bracket and say Astro props. So in order for us to access the properties right here, so we can say the title we use should be the site title, the description should be the site title description. So what we are doing essentially is that we're saying if a particular page doesn't have a title, we should just use the default title. In our case now, it shouldn't change to anything. And for the description to work, we just need to go under this generator or copy this down, and we'll change this name to description, and this should be description, not Astro description. So save. So if we open our inspect elements, bring this down, leave the elements right here. Let me open this. So inside this body, sorry, rather inside this head, you should see the content we gave it to it. So cool. Another thing is that I basically want to get rid of these dev tools that Astro gives by default, so you can actually use it to audit your site for accessibility and other key stuff as well. However, I don't want it on our website, so what we have to do is basically toggle this out and go to our astro.config, and we say dev tools bar, and we'll just, I think it's enabled, yeah, so we set it to false. So right now this should be gone by the time this refresh. All right, cool. You can as well leave it if you want to. So let's just close this out. Now we want to actually create content for our page, but we don't want to be, since this is just a static website, but in case if you have websites with multiple pages, you don't want to bring in this head and this HTML in each page like the way you normally do on an HTML project. So what we'll do is that we'll head over to our source and we'll create a folder called layout, and inside this layout now we'll create a component called main layout.astro. So inside this main layout.astro, what we'll do right here is copy literally everything, or let's just cut everything and paste it right here and save. So by putting the files here, we don't necessarily need to have to bring this every time we have a new page on our website. So we just have to bring in the main layout. So we can just say main layout. This should give me an autocomplete. I don't know why it's not giving me any selection. It happens most times. So we can just bring in the front matter and say import main layout from layout, then main layout to Astro. So cool. So let's just put in something right here. So we say here should just be an H1 saying home page. So we're not seeing anything right now, and the reason is because when we have the main layout file, so let's just go to the docs and let's go to layouts. So like I explained earlier on, layouts are used to provide reusable UI structure. So you just like you have it once, and you don't necessarily need to bring in all these files again. So we need to pass in what we call a slot right here. Should go back to that page, and the slot is basically to specify where each individual content should be injected. So in our case, we want to say slot and close this out. All right, cool. So if you refresh the page right now, you see that the home page is coming through, and every time we add this main layout, we can inject whatever we want to inject, which will read here as a slot. Alright, so we want to create the header section, which is actually this section right here. So we'll just go to our source folder right here and create a components folder, because this is where we'll be storing the different components or different sections we'll create. So inside here now, create header.astro, and since this doesn't have any hamburger menu, we just leave it as it is. So inside the header file, we just bring in the header, and we'll bring in this div, and this div is going to have an anchor link, and inside this anchor link we're going to have this image, which we'll bring in right now. So let's first of all import the image. So we can do that by saying import and let's call it logo from assets. Then I believe I call it logo.svg, and we're going to make use of the image component that Astro gives to us to help us optimize our images. So it's showing this quickly line because it needs two properties. The first one is the source, and the source in our case will be logo. The next one is the auth, which will be, let's just say this should be logo. So we save this, and under the logo we're going to have the nav bar, which is all this right here, and that is going to be in a separate component. So we just create that component right now and say nav bar. So let's just say navbar.astro, and for now let's just say here should be navbar. So we can actually, I don't know why it's not giving me the import suggestions. So we can just import navbar from navbar.astro. Alright, cool. So now we are not seeing it on our page because we need to go to our index page and not, I'm sorry, on our main layout and not the index page, because we necessarily need to make the header fixed. So if we go to another page, we still want the header to be there. So we'll just put it before the slot and say header and close it. So okay, now the auto import is coming in. So we say header, the header is there. So if we save now, we should see the header right here. So the image right now is white because we need to make this background dark. So let's just quickly do that by saying the body should have a class, and we'll give it a bg of primary, can spell 200. Then the font should be the primary font, then the text should be white. So by the time we save now, see that our image, our logo rather, is coming through. Then we head back to our header files, and we'll give these images a width, so you can actually have access to the width and height with this image component. So we'll give this a width of 85. Okay, so for now the nav bar, we're just going to give this header class a bg of primary 100. Okay, so this color is actually, you can see this is it right here, so it's different from this one. Then this is not going anywhere, so we just leave it at this. So give this a class. Don't know why this is getting rid of that. So we say it should be flex, item should be center, justify should be between, add space, and we just give a py of 5 for the top and bottom. Okay, cool. For some reason, I don't know why it's formatting it like this, or it's sorting it like this on Astro files, but on React files it's being structured properly. So you can see that this is being attached to the edges of the page. So for us to have some space right here, we just need to bring in the container. You can see we have some space right here. Alright, so the next thing we have to do is to create our nav bar. So go to the nav bar file, and first things first, we'll bring in the code fence, and let's call this nav, and inside this nav we'll have a UL with some list items. And the thing I recently started doing is, rather than just writing all these by default, we just create an array of objects. So we'll call these nav items and passing the name. So we'll call this one features. Then the href should basically be this, and we'll do this 2 more times. The next one will be team, and the last one is going to be sign in. So right now, if we save, you see nothing is happening because we need to map this nav item. So we say nav item dot map. So map each item, and we'll just return directly. So what are we returning? We're returning an li, and inside the li we'll have an a tag. This href is going to be the item.href, and the a tag right here is basically going to be the item.name. So if we save this now, see that this is coming in. So anytime we want to add a new fixture, a new item, we just have to just copy it, and immediately it's going to show up. So let's just quickly style it by adding a class. It keeps getting rid of this arrow sign. I don't know what is happening. So we say flex, item should be center again. Then we just say justify start, and we'll add a gap of like 8. Alright, cool. Why for the a tags we want to make the color kind of should I say, we'll make the colors kind of dim by default. So we say class should have the text of accent 400, give it a transition of colors, then duration of 300, which is 300 milliseconds rather, and we give it a hover of text white. So when we hover over it, see that the colors are coming through. So the next thing is to style this hero section. So what we'll do is we'll close this one out, as well close this one out. Then we'll go to the component folder and create the hero.astro file, and inside the hero.astro file we'll also have front matter, and we'll import the image. So this image we'll be using, let's just quickly import it. Say hero image from assets, and yeah, illustration intro. Then we call this a section, and inside this section you'll notice that for the website we have this kind of pattern right here. So it's actually an image which will be styling from the CSS directly and not from the HTML. So we just create a class of hero underscore bg, or just say hero bg. Then under it we'll have another div to essentially hold the entire stuff, so to hold this image and these files right here. So inside this we'll create, okay, so just leave this on its own, and let's bring in an image component from Astro, and the source should be the hero image. The auth should also be the hero image. Then underneath it we'll have a div with an h1, which we're going to copy right here, paste it here, and a p tag as well, which we'll copy right here, paste it, and a button as well. So let's just use the button component. So we just call this button, and this should be get started. So save. But before we start writing the Tailwind style for it, we just need to go to our index file and remove this here. Let's say hero section, and we bring in the hero. Okay, cool. So you see that the hero is being loaded up right here. Okay, let's start adding the Tailwind styles for it. So we add the relative to this, because we're going to position the images, the bg images absolute. So also I'm going to give this a font of secondary for this div right here. The class will be container to add spaces for the left and right. We'll also give this a max width of like 600 pixels, and we'll center it and add a padding top of 10. Okay, so if we see, let's see what we have so far. All right, cool. For the text, which is this side, we'll say text should be center. Then for the H1, rather, we'll say we'll give it a margin bottom of 1 rem, increase the font size, give this a font of 700, and on medium the text should be 4XL. Alright, cool. And for this p tag, we just add a margin bottom of 4 to it. Then for the button right here, you can see that when we hover over it, we'll get this effect. So what we'll do is give this class and we'll add some class to it. So the first one will be relative, because we're going to add this hover you're seeing. So this BG will be absolute to its parent using the after pseudo selector. So this will be rounded full, which will make it rounded all around. So also need to give it a BG gradient, call it gradient, and say to right from accent 100 and say to accent, this should be together, so accent 100. Also going to add padding for the left and Y, and for the top and bottom we'll add padding of 3. So give it a font width of 700. Then the text should still be white. Then for the after pseudo class, to add that overlay for the hover, we'll say after should be absolute, and this should also be left 0. So the top should be 0 as well. Then the height should be full. The height should be full. Then the width should be full as well to take up the whole width of its parent container. Then we'll still need to give this rounded full. So then the BG now should be white. Then by default the BG should have an opacity of 0, but when we hover over it, it should have a higher opacity. Then let's just add that and say for the after we add the transition of all, and after we still add a duration of 300 and a hover of the BG opacity, and we'll give this like 40. So if we save right now, you can see that when we hover over this button, it's coming through. Cool. So what we need to do right now is essentially to add this pattern that we are seeing right here. So for us to do that, I basically wanted to add it here with Tailwind, but I just want to show us that with Astro you can add scope styles. And what I mean by scope style is that you can basically just say bring in the style tag and do whatever you want. So I can say this H1 now should be color red, should work. I believe think it's not working because of the hierarchy. Let's just make this important and see, still not work. So let's just add something here just for demo purposes. So we say tag of demo, say hey, and if we come inside here and say the demo should have, I was at the wrong file, so let's try this again. So let's just say color should be red. Okay, still didn't work, so let's just do the demo instead. So the demo should work fine. So in our case now, we'll just grab this hero bg, and the reason why we're still, like I said, why we're using a custom class is that Frontend Mentor gave us two images to use. So this pattern has two, one for desktop and one for mobile. So we say for mobile, which is the default one, we just set the background to have a color. So that color will go to our Tailwind config, and I believe it's the one that I did with 15. So this one right here. So copy this, go back and paste it here, and the URL should be assets, then bg copy for mobile, and the background repeats should be no repeats. The background position okay. Background position should be bottom center. Then the background size is going to be contained. Let's get rid of this one right here. So we might not be seeing it right now. So what we have to do is to give this a width of 100%, a height of 100% as well, and position of absolute. So you can see that the image is coming right in. So we'll give this a bottom of 14 rem, and for the image to show, we just need to send this to the backwards index. So the image is showing right here. While for bigger screens, so we'll say at media, and we say 768 pixels. So we can just copy everything right here. We'll paste it, then we'll just make few adjustments. First of all, we'll change this to desktop. We'll leave all this here. For the background size, I just made some tweaks, so it should be 100%, then 279 pixels for the bottom property. Then the bottom here should be 0, and we'll get rid of this index, so we are not going to need that anymore. All right, so if we come to bigger screens, you see that this gets pushed down, but when we go to smaller screens, it gets pushed up. And this style right here is only scoped to this hero section, and you can as well do the same for JavaScript. You can as well add custom JavaScript, and the cool thing is that you can't just still add normal Tailwind. You can choose any language of your choice, and you can choose I think they have one for SAS. So when you start adding SAS, but you should have the dependency installed for you to be able to use it, and you can still make it global as well. Yeah, so it's global. So if you add global to this and you bring in this hero bg on another file, the styles are still going to apply. So that's about it. Alright, so what we'll be building next is this features section. So let's go to our components folder and create features Astro, and we'll create a section. Inside that section we'll create a div, and we'll also create another div. So this div now is to basically hold each of these feature right here. So inside this one now we'll bring in an image tag. So we'll say image, then we'll just import that image right here and say import. I think the first image we'll call it feature, let's call it feature 1 from, if I can type correctly, assets, and say icon access. Okay, just for more clarity, let's just change this to access. Cool. Then we import the second one, security, from sets. Then the third one, I think it's collaborations and files. So we just say collab, collaborations. Finally, the last one should be files from. I mean, I could have just copied this down. I don't know what I'm doing. Alright, so for this first one, we'll give the source to be the access. Then we also add an alt and say this should be access, and we also have to import this image component as well. Alright, cool. So by the time we save, we should not see anything because we've not imported it yet. So what is next right now is to create the actual title. So under this image, we'll create another div to hold this stuff right here. So say div, and inside it we'll create an h2, and just copy this one right here, paste it, and underneath it we'll create a text, a p tag rather, and just copy this. I was copying the wrong one ever since, so we'll just copy this one, replace it here, then copy this one and replace it here. I think that's about it. So this is for the first one. We won't do the second one for now because I'm going to show you a more better way to handle situations like this. So we'll head back to our index page and we'll just call this one the features section. Say features and bring it in. So you see how nice this index page is. So the only thing we're going to be importing right here are just the components themselves, and this component themselves will obviously broken into separate components which you can handle individually or separately. Let me close this out. if you scroll down, you see we have this coming through. So let's just add some basic styles for now before we break this down even further. So go to the features, and in the section I will just bring in the class and say the max width should be let's try 900 pixels. So it shouldn't go above 900 pixels, and we need to center it as well. I will add the margin top of 28, but we still need to add padding at the left and right. So we'll come inside here and say class here should be container for now. So if we save, this should, alright, cool. Don't worry if this is not centered like this one, we'll handle that shortly. So if we open it now, you see that it's not going above the 900 pixels mark. Okay, cool. So what we need to do now is to put this individual section in another component called like a feature card. And the reason why we'll be doing this is to make the styling easier for us, so that we just have to write the styles once, and anytime we add more features and want to make changes to the style, we just have to do it in one place. And another reason is that when you start adding more files in that feature card component, it will be more readable and more easier for you to add more files. So let's just quickly do that. We'll go to the components folder again and create feature card Astro. Then inside this feature card Astro, we'll basically go back and copy this section right here. So from this div, we'll copy this and cut it, head back here and paste this in. Then we also have to just copy everything right here and paste it in right here. So by the time we save, so for it to show, if you close it now, it's going to leave. So we just have to import it and say feature card. So save. So by the time we copy this like 3 times, you can see we have 3 of it. So let's just leave it let's just leave it at this. Okay, let's leave it at 1 for now. And now we have to style this feature right here. So for this div, create a class. I believe before that we also need to add some styles here first. So what should we be styling? We want to center the text. I want to add a margin bottom of 14, and for medium screens we want to get rid of the margin bottom. So this should be centered, and it's adding a margin bottom here. So we also need to center this image as well. So before the source, we just bring in the class property and say the size. So typically with Tailwind, you can just do height of 60 pixels and width of 60 pixels. You can do it like this, but if you use the size attribute, you can just, I say size attribute, the size class, you can just give it one value and it's automatically going to read for the width and the height, as you can see. So that's fine. Then we also want to add a margin bottom of 4 rem, and we also want to center it as well. So say margin MX auto. Right, so this image now is not showing, is shrinking down or is looking weird. So we just have to add an object fit of contain. So the image is now properly fixed, like this one right here. So for the other second div, I think we don't have to do anything to it. For the h2 now, we'll add class property, and the font should be 700, text should be XL, and we'll add the margin bottom of 2. Alright, cool. For the text, we'll just leave it as it is. Alright, nice. So what we have to do now is to pass all this image and this h2 and this text as props so that we can use them right here. So how do we do that? We just simply have to create an interface called, let's just call this props. So if you call it props, Astro automatically know that this is going to be a property of some basic types. So the first one will be an image with a type of, let's just say any for now, or just a string. Leave a string. Then the title should be a string as well. Then the text should also be a string as well. And the reason why we're doing this is because it's TypeScript, and if we just pass it directly, we're going to get some errors. So we will replace this source right here with the image, and this is not coming true because we've not destructured it. So we'll say const, and we'll pass in the title, the image, and the text, and say Astro the props. So now the image is coming in. The text, we should get rid of this one. I'm just passing the text right here. This one now, I think that should be, yeah, so this should be the text, and this should be the title. Okay, cool. So we're getting an error that says type string is not assignable. Okay. Alright, so what it's telling us is that we're not supposed to use string here because the type is supposed to be from the since it's an Astro component, the type is different. So the type is actually an image metadata. So this error should be gone right now. So we will just copy everything. Don't worry about this, we'll fix it in a bit. We'll copy everything right here and cut it. So now we don't necessarily have to touch this file except we want to add some styles to it. So we'll go right here and paste this one here, and this actually is missing some properties, which are these properties we passed in right here, these 3 properties. So again, we'll just copy and just do everything at once since we are at that page. So we'll copy this title, and say the title should be, paste it, and for the title just add the image as well. So this image is the access, then the last property is the text. which is this text right here. So paste it here and save. I will do the same for these three components. So we just copy this down and just replace them. So for this, we'll this and paste it here. It should be security. All right. So for this next one, collaborations. And this should be collab. And we have to just paste in this right here. Then we need one more. So see, copy this down one more time and copy this, paste it here and change this to file. I believe it's file recorded. Then we'll just copy this as well. And paste it here. So by the time we save, so that each feature is coming right in. So anytime we want to add another feature, we just copy this, bring in import the image and just add the necessary text. And anytime we change the style here, it's going to apply to everything. So there's still another way to go about this, which we'll use in another section as we progress. So let's see it on desktop. Okay, so we want it to actually be on 2 columns. So we bring this back down, and for this container right here, we'll just add a grid and say for medium devices, add a grid. So for medium devices should be grid close of 2, and for medium devices again, add a gap of 24. So if we check now, you see that it's coming in nice. All right, cool. So we'll have to create the next section, which I believe I call it the productive section. So we'll have to just open our components file and create a new file called productive.astro, I believe. And since that is another section on its own, what we'll do is just to call it a section. Let me close this out. And inside that section, we'll need a div in order to add grid to it. So inside this, we'll add a div, and now we'll bring in the image, which means we have to import the image. Let's say import, let's call it productive image from assets and say stay productive. I believe it's this one. All right, so bring in the image component again from Astro, and if you notice, you see, okay, it's gone, but you see 2 images. One is the actual node modules, while the one with dot assets, yeah. So this is the one you should import. So take note of that. So the source should be the productive image, and the alt should be productive image. All right, so I just realized something. For this alt, if we go to the feature card I believe. So this here is supposed to be the title as well. So this is supposed to be the title as well, and there's no title for it currently, so we still have to add this as props here and go back and just add the title. So you can just say the alt here should be let's just make it simple and say access. This should be security. This should be collab, and this should be file. Only this. Alright, cool. So we can just continue from where we are. Alright, cool. Then since we have this image right now, we need to import it and bring it in our index file. So call this productive section, say productive, and bring it in. So the image is coming in. Alright, cool. So underneath this image, we'll create another div, and we have an h2 right here that says stay productive where you are. Copy this down, and we have two p tags as well. So quickly copy them and say stay inside the div, paste this in, create another one and paste this in. And underneath this p tag, we'll create an anchor tag that should go nowhere and just say see how Philo works. And inside this, since there's an icon right here, what we have to do is to just cut this one and put it inside a span tag, and also bring in that icon. So we just say I, and the class should be FAS arrow right, I believe. So by the time we save and we head back to this, yeah, so the arrow is coming through. So now we just have to style it. So here we'll say the class should have a margin. Don't think this margin bottom is necessary. Just have it for now, get rid of it. And we had the padding of 28 for the top, so padding 28 and margin bottom. We might remove it later on. So this next div, we're going to add the class as well to it. I would say it should be a container for now. Okay, so for the image, we will leave it as it is. Oh, let's just add the margin bottom. Just a margin bottom of 4. All right. Then for the H2, we'll add some styles. So we first of all make the text to 2XL. The font should be bold of 700. Then we'll add a margin bottom of 4, while on medium screens and up, the text should be 3XL. Okay, cool. Then for this p tag, we'll just add a class of margin 4. So both of them, so do the same to this too. All right, so next we need to style this button right here. So the classes are going to be long, so let me just bring it in here and say the first thing we want to do is to make it relative. And the reason why we're making it relative is because this line underneath is coming from a pseudo after class, so we need to make it, and we position it absolute, so we need to make it relative to its parent, which is the actual A tag. So the next thing to do is let's just make it flex. Item should be center, justify should be start. Then we also need to add a gap between the text and the arrow button, and we'll add a P of 1. This will come in later on when we add a line. This padding will show up later when we add a line, so don't worry about if this is going up for now. So the next thing to do is to add a width of fit content. The text should be asset 100. Then just for simplicity's sake, let's just add some transitions for now. So it should be colors, and the duration should be 300. All right, cool. So let's start adding the, okay, before we add the hover, the after pseudo class, let's just bring this over of text should be white. So this text should be white, and save. You can see that everything is white like this. Okay, so all we have to do now is to see for the after should be absolute, and after again we'll add the bottom of 0. For the after, we say the height should be like 1.5 pixels. So anytime you see me putting stuff in square brackets, know that the values are arbitrary values, so they are hard-coded values. They are not gotten from Tailwind. So if you want your own hard-coded values, you can just put them in square brackets. So again, the after should have a width of full. Then the after should have a BG of accent 100. Actually styling the line underneath. So when we over, the after should have a BG of white. So if we save, see that it's coming through. Now we need to style this particular icon right here. So we'll go to this class here and say the size should be 4. So basically 1 rem or 16 pixels. Rounded should be full. Then we'll add a BG accent of 100. Also make the text center. Then the text should be 0.6 rem. The line height, which is leading, should be 4. The text should be black. What else? The transition, we need to see our transition to it of colors, and we'll see at the duration of 300. So save. All right, cool. I still don't know why this is at the top. So let's get rid of this PB for now. I think this is more causing it. Okay. Apart from that, it's still working fine. Okay, so let's see if we're missing any class right here. So the size was what? Was 1 rem. Okay. Then the leading was still 1 rem. Alright, so I believe the issue will be coming from this right here. So what we'll do is add a translate here. So we'll say translate of y. So translate, I believe I added item center to this, yeah. So translate y, and let's just make this 1 rem for now. Okay, this is too big. We'll just make it like 0.2 rem. Yeah, so we'll leave it as it is right now. Okay, cool. But you can see as we hover over this is still showing the normal color, because for this now everything is going white. So for us to be able to achieve that, we just simply have to add a group to the parent container, which is the A tag, and now we target that group right here. Target the group for this one and add a overstate, so say bg white. So what we're doing is that since here is a group and here is a group, it basically say anytime we hover over this it should transit based on this group that is right here. So if we hover over it now, see that everything is working as it should. All right, cool. So what we have to do right now is to check for desktop screen. So we need to add a display of flex when we get to bigger screens. So for us to do that, we just head back to our container right here and say for medium screens and up should be grid, and again grid calls of 2, then we add a gap of 8. And while we're there on media's devices and up, we just want to center this, so say self center. That's about it. So if we check now, yes, so everything is working fine. And we also want to get rid of this margin bottom on bigger screens and up to as well. All right, so it's looking nice. So right now we want to create this testimonial section, and we, unlike the feature section, we're going to do it a bit different. You can use the same approach if you want to, but I just want to show you another way you can do some stuff like this. Okay, so first off, we'll create that right here and say testimonial Astro, and inside they will create a section, and let's just should we just define this? Let's just bring in a div right inside here, and we will create another div again inside. So this div will hold the image, which are these quotes right here. So we'll just bring in that right now. Say import quote from assets. Leave quote here. So I also need to bring in the image component, Astro, and say the source should be quote, and the odds as well should be quote. Alright, cool. So underneath we want to display this right here. So before we do that, we just have to put them inside an array of objects. So what we'll do is to actually bring in these 3 profile images. So the first one, we just call it, for simplicity's sake, say profile 1 from assets. If it's called profile 1, yeah, so I'll copy this 2 times. This should be 2, this should be 3, this should be 3, and this should be 2. So by the way, if you don't know, I'm pasting this down. I'm just holding shift and alt and pressing my down arrow key for Windows. So I don't know if you're using Mac, you should just check that up. I don't know what it is on Mac. So code this out, and still inside the code fence, we say we wanted to create an array of objects to actually hold each of the data. So we say const, and let's just call it testimonial data. So the texts are basically the same, but just the name that changes. Even the positions are actually the same as well. So we'll say for the first one, we'll say the text should be, copy this text right here, paste it right here. The name should be, copy this name, paste it here. Then we need to add a colon right here. Then the position should be the first one. Lastly, the this should be the image, not the position. So this will be the position, and we'll copy it right here. Alright, cool. So anytime we save this, we can just copy this 2 more times. So 1, 2, add a colon right here, a comma right here. So we'll change this, and this should be 2. While for this last one, this should be 3. Right, we save, and for now we're not seeing anything, so we'll go back to our index file and say this should be the testimonial section. Bring in testimonial right here. So we should be seeing it right now. But you remember that we added a margin bottom for this productive section. So we need to get rid of that, because we'll still be adding a margin top of a padding top of 28 here, so we don't need that again. So we'll go to that productive file and get rid of this margin right here. Okay, so we'll go back to the testimonial and let's just bring in that quickly. Say the class should be PT28, so that we'll have some space at the top right here. All right, cool. So now that we have this, beneath this, under this image component, we'll create a testimonial. I say we'll just map over this testimonial data, and we just want to show all these testimonials. So say map, and we'll call this, what should we call this? Yeah, let's call this review. For each review, this can be whatever you want it to be. Then return, and we'll pass in a div. Inside that div, we'll have a p tag that will show the text, and the next one would be another div, and this div will hold two things. So this will hold the image, so I can just copy this here, paste it, and change this to the image, review image. And this alt can still be the title, so we can say here should be review.text. Yes, yeah, so this should be the name instead. I believe it should be the name. Then underneath it, we'll also have another div again, so that when we add the display flex to this image will be here, then this two will be on this div which we want to create right now. So we'll call this an h4, and we'll pass in the review, the name as well, and under this we'll say it should be review the position. All right, cool. Let's see what we have so far. Okay, so everything is coming nice. So first things first, we will style we'll add the container to this div right here, container. Okay, and we can still add some things later, but we'll just leave it as it is now. For the next div, we'll add a relative, position relative, because we'll be positioning these quotes, adding the position absolute to this image right here. Then also add the z index of like 20. So this image here, this image component, we have a class of absolute, and the top is going to be an arbitrary value. We'll call it minus, we'll give it -2 rem, and we'll add a z index of -10. So this is for the image, so you can see that the text is above it. So now we need to style the testimonial data. So for this one, we'll say class, and we'll say margin bottom of 8, so rounded should be large. Give it a background primary of 400, px should be 6, and pb should be 6, which is for padding bottom. The padding top should be 8, and on medium devices and up, we'll get rid of the margin. All right, cool. So the next thing to style is this p tag here. So this p tag, we just have a margin bottom of 4 rem, and a line height of like 7. All right, cool. Then this image tag or components, will still give it a class of size of like 45 pixels and rounded off full to make it a full circle. Yeah, and we also need to come here and say flex item should be what? Center. Let's just add a justify of start. I believe the default is justify start, but I don't know why I'm still adding it. But let me just keep adding it since we've started adding it. Okay, so this is coming in nice. I believe so. For the H4 right here, we just need to add a font of 700, and the class should be text small CYI. Okay, so go again and say class should be text small. All right, cool. So we want to still make this responsive on bigger devices, because for now this is how it looks. So for us to do that, we just come right to this part and say for medium devices, so it should be grid. And I know we have 4 right now. Okay, we have 3, so we have the grid holes of 2 for medium devices. I'll tell you why we're doing that in a bit, and say add a gap of 6. So if we do a close of 3 to have 3 columns, which is really ideal. So we'll try this again, and we'll still don't know why that is not coming through. Okay, so why is that not working? Medium grid. Let's refresh this page again and see. So that is not coming true as we want. Okay, this should be cause, not cool. All right, so let's try it again. All right, cool. I hope you guys like the way I make mistakes on my videos, because if you don't like it, that means you're a better programmer than me. You can see that these are being squashed together, which is not looking really nice. On bigger screens it looks nice, but on medium screens it looks weird. So we just need to make it so on medium screens, so on tablet view this should be 2. It's looking nice now. Then we'll say on large screens, so we say grid close, and this should be true. So this is coming in nice. All right, the next section we are going to be creating now is this newsletter section. So I believe we're going to add the database functionality last, but we'll just create the overall template. So for the newsletter section, we'll come to this our components file right here, and we'll say newsletter newsletter.tsx. So this is the part of where you are bringing in a framework that you want to use. And since this is interactive, so when you click on this should happen. We can still do it with Astro using the script tag, but I don't need to show you how you can use React with Astro too. So for this to work, make sure you have React as an integration. So this wouldn't work. So if we're trying to import something like, say, import use state, we are not getting any autocomplete from React. You see, we get some squeeze. Okay, I believe. So we are saying that cannot find module. So what we have to do, so come right here and just look for React Astro.js, and yeah, npx add React. So we want to add React, then we'll go to a separate terminal, clear this one out, paste this right here. So it should tell us to answer some few questions. So we say yes. All right, so we have React installed on our project, so we can clear this one out. So if we come right here, you can see we have React here, some integration. So if we go to the newsletter now, we can do whatever we want. So we can create a quick boilerplate using RFC. So in case if you don't know what RFC is, it's basically an extension that makes you I think is ES7. Yeah, so it's this one right here. So it makes you have a quick snippet or create a quick boilerplate of JXS components. And I said earlier that we explain what that console.ninja is. So we'll see it in action in this newsletter. So when we get there, I'll just explain what it does. All right, so we have a newsletter, and this should be a section right here. Cool. And I hope you have a little idea of how React works, because if you don't, this will look a bit strange. So inside this section, we will create a div, and inside this div, we'll create another div. So inside this other div now is where we'll still create another div. So we're trying to style this section right here. And inside this other div now, we'll say, we'll have this h2 right here. I said get early access, paste this one. And underneath it, we'll have the p tag. Yes, we'll add it here. And outside this, we'll bring in the form tag. So we want to create this section right here now. So inside this form tag, we'll create a div, and inside this div, create another div again, and we'll create an input with a type of email. So I'm going to be passing an email here, and the placeholder, I believe the placeholder should be email example.com, and underneath the underneath the input, we'll have a p tag to show this error message. So enter a valid email address. So let's try it again. Don't know why this guy is not copying now. Let's try it one more time. Okay, copy and paste it. It should bring two. So we need only the first one. So we save. All right, cool. And while we are there, so underneath this now, we'll create a button with the class of get started for free, with the text of get started for free, get started for free. All right, cool. So I believe that is all for now. So what we have to do is to come to our index file and say this should be the newsletter section, and bring in the newsletter. So for this to work now, since it's an island, so we need that place to be actually interactive. We need to mark it with client. I believe this is client right here. I think it's client here. So these are the built-in properties. So I love using this one. So as soon as the page loads, this should be interactive. You can still do it when it's visible. So if here is visible now, if your page loads, everything will be rendered statically, so nothing should be interactive. So when you immediately here comes in view, this should be interactive now. So we'll just leave it as visible. So go back to the newsletter and we'll start writing some styles for it. So for the section, say the class should be class name. I'm already getting used to class now. So the class name should be, so React uses class name because class is a reserved keyword. So the class name will say here should be relative, and we add a margin top of it should be margin top of 28 right here, and we add a container, a class name of container. I will make it absolute. Also want to center it, so we say left should be 1/2, which is 50 pixels. The top should be 8. The minus translate x should be same thing, 1/2. So this will make it centered on the screen properly. And on medium devices and up, the top should be 14. All right, so this is coming in. For this next one right here, we say give it a max width now. See, max width should be 700 pixels, and rounded should be large. Then we add a background parameter of 100, and we obviously want to center it as well. So you're seeing the background coming in. It's kind of light, but by the time we add a color to the footer, you'll see it coming through as we want. Okay, we still need to add some paddings around because it's getting squashed up. So we say here should be px for the left and right, and top and bottom should be 9 rem. Then we'll say center it as well. Alright, cool. So you can see it properly now. So for this now, we just add a margin button of like 8 to have some space. This, so the h2 now should have a class of MB for margin bottom of 4, text of 2SL, font of 700. Okay, so we'll leave this p tag as it is. Okay, then for the form right here, for the form, we'll first of all leave here. So first of all, let's just start this input first. So say class name should be add the margin bottom of 4, height of like 45 pixels, pixels right here. So width of 4, rounded of 4, padding left of 4, text block, a text of block, I said text block. Then we'll get rid of the outline normally has by default, and on bigger screens and up we'll add a margin bottom of 0. Okay, cool. So we'll first of all hide this for now. We'll bring that back later. So let's just hide it. It should be hidden. Okay, so for this actual button right here, you can see that it's the same if you see it. So this button and the one right here is actually the same. So we can just go back to our hero component and just grab all these styles. So let me just copy everything here, and we'll head back to our newsletter and we'll just paste it here. So by the time we save, this should be styled and this should be class name. And the only thing we need to add is to make it the width of 4, so make it the same width as this. All right, so that's for that one. So for the hidden class, I believe okay, let me just add some styles to it now and say the text should be asset 800 to have that red color. Make it absolute. And since we are making it absolute, we'll need to add relative right here, which we'll do shortly. So bottom should be 4, left should be 4 as well. The medium should be bottom of, let's say minus 1.3 rem. For medium screens, it should be left. I think that is about it. So it's coming right here. So what we need to do is to, I believe it's this now. So this one right here before the input, add the class and say this should be a width of full as well, and we'll make it relative. So you see that it's here right now. Okay, cool. So this is the way it is, but later on, like when we start checking if there's an email or not, that's what we want it to show. And I believe we still need to make it bold because it's kind of really yeah, I think it's bold, so let's just make it bold. So say the font should be 700. Okay, so if we check it on desktop screens, it's getting squashed. So what we have to do is to add this position, I mean a display of flex to it on desktop devices. So go back and we'll say, come here and say class name, and medium screen should be flex, item should be center, justify should be space of between and a gap of 4. So if we check now, see that this is coming through. And while we're there, let's just hide this for now because I don't like the way it's looking. So hide it for now. All right, cool. So that's for this newsletter section. So what we want to do right now is to create this footer section. So go to the component and create the footer.astro file. So for the footer file, what we just do is to just create the tag right here and say footer, and inside this footer let's just bring a container. Let's just show something. So footer. So now we won't be adding the footer to our index file. We'll add it to our main layout because we want to see the head, which is this part. So we don't want this to change on any page. So we want to always see the header and the footer. So that is not coming, so we need to import that manually by ourselves. It should be footer, Astro, and this should be footer. Okay, cool. So let's check right now. Okay, so the footer is here and it's supposed to be under, which is fine. We'll fix that. So anytime we go to a new page, we'll see this footer and the header, but because of this slot right here, what is inside this page might change. All right, so I believe we're done with this file. Let's just close it out. I believe we're done with this as well. So for this footer section right now, let's quickly add some styles. Let's say margin top of 80 and BG primary of 300. Okay, so it's still here. We still need it to come down, which we'll still do shortly. And let's just add a space, set container. So class container to add space right here. And another thing is we'll get rid of this. I'll create another div, and inside this div we'll add a class of padding top of 60, and on large screens we'll reduce the add padding bottom. On large screens again we'll reduce the padding top. Okay, so this is coming in nice as this right here. So what we have to do right now is to add content to it. So we'll create a div which will start later on, and we want to first of all style this first part. So let's just call it let's just call it row 1. So let's say row 1 or column 1, anything you want to call it. So inside here, we'll first of all bring in this image component, so which is this logo right here, and I believe we did it on our header, so we can go there and just copy it right here. Yeah, so paste it here. Then we'll go back and just copy this here and paste it inside. Then we still need to import this right here. All right, cool. So underneath this, we'll create a div to hold these three items there. Okay, so for this one right now, for this one, I believe we'll just make it 3 divs, if I'm not mistaken. So to hold this one and this one. So for the first one now, we'll still bring in this image component and we'll import this. So this was actually given to us. So some icons were given to us. I decided to just use photos, some for its arrow icons, but the rest were given to us. So we'll just import 3 of them. The first one is location from assets, then location. The next one should be, let's copy this down twice. This one is what did I call it again? Phone. Yes, so this should be phone and this should be phone. Okay, I'm not getting into complete again. Okay, icon phone. The last one should be mail. So we say icon mail. Okay, email. All right, so for this first one, we need the source to be the actual location rather, then the alt should be location. Okay, so need to add the p tag to bring in this text right here. So paste this text right here. All right, that's for that. Then we still want to, inside this div right here, so we'll create another one called for, let's just copy this right here and we'll name this to phone. It should be phone. And we'll paste this right here. All right, so let's check how this look on desktop. Okay, so these two are together. Okay, so what we'll do right now is to copy this and put this inside another div, paste it here, and we'll just mark this as row 2 because we're actually done with this first row here. So this row 2 now has the image and the text. So we'll copy this again, and the next one should be the mail. I believe, yeah, it should be the mail, and the mail should be in an anchor tag. So we'll just say it should be a href. I just say text was what. So copy it here. All right, cool. So that should be for row 2. Then for the third row, row 3, which is this one right here. So we'll create another div for it as well. And inside there, we just say UL and bring in 8 tags and just make it 3. Okay, this is taking quashy, so let me just do it manually by hand. So it should be an 8 tag with the text of about us. Then we'll copy this 3 more times here. So next one will be jobs. The next one will be blog. Sorry, press. And the last one should be blog. Alright, cool. Now for this last one, we'll still actually copy this again. So let's just comment it now and just say, let's just comment it now and just make it row 4. But we won't copy it down because the styling for both of them are the same. So once we style this now, we'll copy it down and just continue from there. So for these social icons right here, we'll just call that row 5, and inside it, I believe we should use from, let's check if they give us any assets for that. Okay, they give us, but okay, they didn't per se. Yeah, so we'll just use from photos or icons. So we'll create a div, and inside this div we'll create another div again, and it should hold this right here. So the first one should be an anchor with an href that's going nowhere, and the text inside should be an I tag with a class of FAB, FA, then Facebook -F for Facebook. So if we check, that should show up right here. Yeah, we just have to copy this. I believe how many? Just 3. So we'll copy it 3 more times. So we say 1, 2, 3. Then the next one should be Twitter. And the last one was Instagram. So say Instagram. Okay, so Twitter is not showing up because it's not well spelled. Alright, cool. So let's just start adding the styles for each of the rows. So for the row 1, we'll just target the class, the image component, and first of all, we'll just make this bigger, the width, because I think it's bigger here. Yes, so the width we should just say 120. Okay, then we'll add the margin bottom of 8. So on large screens, the margin bottom should be 12. Cool. And for this div right here, we'll add the class of flex item center. We'll add the gap of like 2. Okay, cool. So for this image now, you see it's looking kind of wonky. So come to the image tab and say give it a size first of 20 pixels, and the object fit should be contained, and we also add the margin top of 1. Okay, so it's looking real nice. And let's just add a self of start to align it properly. Okay, cool. All right, so what we have to do is to actually still need a spacing here, so we'll add a margin bottom of 4, so there should be space underneath it. Okay, and you already know, so they're quite the same, so repeat the same process for these ones too. So let's just copy this here and paste it here. It should be inside the class. Okay, so I believe for the phone, okay, everything should be the same, and we'll still copy this here. Why you do this? Okay, all right, cool. So since these two are together right here, we'll just add the class of 16 to add a lot of spacing underneath it. Okay, and while we're there, let's just open this out. Before we do that, we should just copy this again with the class name this time, and copy this one, paste it here. So everything should work fine now. All right, so for this section, which is the rotary, will come to the A tag itself and say class. So this class now, we are going to do it once, so we'll just, I will hold Alt and use my mouse to highlight it of the section. So we say class should have MB of 2, inline block, text accent of 400, a transition of colors, and a duration of 300, and a hover of text of white. All right, cool. And we also need to add a margin bottom to the parent div. The margin bottom, as you see here, should be 16. Then now we can copy we can just copy this one right here. So copy this and paste it here, but this time we'll replace it with this information and say contact, and this should be privacy, and we don't need this last one. We also don't need this MB of 16 for now. Then for this row 3, we don't need the margin bottom at the last one here. So if we go back and allow it to refresh, so you can see that everything is coming through like this one. So the last thing is to style the social links, which is this last row here. So what we'll do is to add a class inside the second div and say the padding top should be 16, padding bottom should be 8, the text should be centered, then on large screens the padding bottom should be 0, then on large screens padding top should be 0 as well. Okay, so now we want to start this class right here. So what we do is to just do it once and just copy and paste it. So we say should be, I think I'm at the wrong, yeah, so it should be here rather, not the, should be here. So we add the margin right of 2 rem, should be display inline block, give it a size of 32 pixels, rounded for border and a border color of white. Then we'll still make the line height the same as the size, and we'll add the transition of all. Then we also add the duration of 300, a hover of border accent 100, believe. Then the text should be text accent 100. So what we'll do is save. I see this is coming through, so we'll just copy this class right here and paste it here and just paste it here as well. All right, so this is coming in nice, but is not responsive on larger devices. So, and the responsiveness is kind of really complex, because if we go to medium screens, the styles are different. Then if we go to large screens, the styles are different as well. But we'll make it work though. So let's head over to the top and let's start making it responsive. So we'll bring this to like the medium size tablet view. Okay, so yeah. So from here, the first thing we'll do is to add a class, and we say medium should be grid, and give it a grid cause of 2, then gap of 8. Then on larger screens, we say the grid cause should be an arbitrary number. So on larger screens, we want to give each of these rows right here, or columns, or whatever you want to call it, a specific width or specific size they should span through. So the first one should be 2.5 FR. So the next one should be 1.5 FR. So we'll see how 1 FR should be 1 FR and 1 FR again. Then lastly we have 1 FR. Okay, cool. So if we save and head back to this, and we scroll, so you see things are coming through. They are not really looking as nice now, but are coming through as we want. Alright, so for the first row, do we have to add anything? I believe we are all fine. So we need to go to the second row. While for the second row right now, after this MB16, we will get rid of the margin bottom of 0. We'll set it to 0 rather. Then the self, align self to, should it be center? I believe, okay, it's justify self end, so it should just go to the end. And on large screens, we'll make the margin top to 20. Large screens again, we will reset the whole thing to the initial position, which is start. Then justify should be self start as well. So let's see what we have. Okay, I believe this should still be centered. So let's just say on medium screen should be self center. Okay, so it's coming through now. Alright, so that's for the second row. I believe we want to look on the third row for now. So for the third row, we'll close this one out. For this third row, we just need to get rid of the margin bottom, and for large screens, we'll add a margin top of 20. Large screens again, will justify self center. So justify self center. Alright, so okay, it's looking nice. Then this fourth one right here, what we'll do is basically kind of the same, but close it out and say MD, so media screens, the margin right should be 20, and the self should be center, so align self center. Then justify should be self end, justify self end. Then on large screens, the margin right should be 0. Then on large screens again, the margin top should be 20. On large screens, we should set it to self start. And on large screens again, we will just reset it back to justify self start. So let's save and see. Alright, so it's coming in as we want right here. So the last thing is to style this social links, and we want to put it in the middle. Then on larger screens we want to put it at the end. So we'll break this back here again. Okay, so for that we'll close this fourth one out, and inside this fifth row bring in the class and say the on media screens will basically span this 1/3. So what this does is to just set the grid column, so it should span from this first grid to the third one. And on large screens, we should set it to auto. And on large screens again, we'll just add a margin top of 20. All right, cool. So let's see if it works. Okay, so let's see on desktop. So everything is still working well on bigger screens. All right, so we want to write the logic to send the email a user enters to AstroDB. So before we do that, I just noticed that the form is the width of the form here is actually longer in the live link. So we'll actually fix that right now. So if I go to code, this is the button, we just say medium screens, the width should be 1/2, which is 50%, and we'll just reduce the padding on the left and right to like 2. All right, cool. Yeah. All right, so and if we try submitting the form, you'll notice that the page gets refreshed, and we want to stop that from happening. So how we'll do that, we'll simply go to our form right here and say on submit, and this should be handle submit. We'll create this function in a second, and we also need to pass a type of submit right here as well. So let's quickly create this function. So say const handle submit, and passing an event here with a type of form event, so that TypeScript won't be mad at us. And let's say event prevent default. All right, so if you try submitting now, you see that the page doesn't refresh, and this is still working because if we go to our index.astro file, we made the client to be visible. So if we take this out now and refresh, you notice that the page is refreshing because now it's Astro by default is rendering everything statically. So this is rendered as a normal HTML file. So when we add client or visible, yeah, we just leave it as visible. We are not telling Astro to hydrate this part of this section when it's visible in order for us to add JavaScript and functionality to it. So now it's not working. So I hope that clarifies the explanation I was struggling to explain. All right, cool. So next, we actually want to show this error message when a user tries to submit an empty form. Okay, so what we'll do is I will head back to our VS Code, and we'll create a state to keep track of the email the users enter, or a user enters rather. So const, we'll call this email, and we'll say set email. This should be an empty string, and while we are there, we should also create state for the message we'll get, so the error message. And instead of us doing for error and for success, we just use one state for both of them. So inside this one now, we'll create an object and pass in 2 properties. The first one will be the type of an empty string for now, be the text rather. The second one will be the type. So this will be the actual message, and this will be the type of the error, or the type of the message. So if it's a success message, the type will be success. If it's an error message, the type will be error. And we also need to add in a loading state as well. It's loading. Set this to use state. This should be false by default. Alright, cool. So what we need to do is to come to our input right here, and the value should be whatever the user enters, and on change we want to update the value, the email. So we say set email, then we'll pass in the event dot target the value. Alright, cool. So if we try to console log the email right now, so let's head over to our code and open our DevTools, and let's try to impute something. You can see this is logging out, and this is also logging out as well. So this is coming from the console ninja I wanted to explain, or I said I would explain earlier on. So it basically saves you the stress of going to your DevTools most of the times for basic stuff like this, but I still use the DevTools though. So you go to your extensions and look for console ninja. This is it right here. So by wallaby.js, just install it and it should work directly. Alright, so you can get the email right now. So what we want to do is to check if that email, if there's an email in the form. So we say if there's no email, we want to stop the form from submitting, and also need to pass in a message as well. So set message, and what should be the error message? So we say this should be text of, let's just say please enter a valid email address, and the type should be error because it's going to be an error message. Alright, so that is fine, but we also need to display the error message on our browser. So we need to first of all check. So you say message dot type is equals to error, then we'll copy this right here and we'll say here should be the actual message dot text. Alright, so this is fine. What we'll do now is try to submit an empty form. Okay, this is not showing. What are we missing? Let's check, what am I missing? Set email. Yeah, why you do this? This should work fine. Okay, so this is not working because of this hidden class. Now I know I'm seeing it. Silly me. Alright, so you can see that it's showing please enter a valid email address, but we want to make it align properly. So what we'll do is come back here and we change this to curly brackets, do the same right here. The reason why we are doing this is because we want to actually check if the message dot type is equals to error. It's an error message, and if it's an error message, we want to add the margin bottom of 10, else we should just use the margin bottom of 4. So we'll get rid of this one. So by the time we save and go back, you can see that this is okay. You can as well increase this if you want to, but we'll leave it as this. This is fine, it's not bad. Then let's see if it's okay for so for medium devices and up, we just need to push this to the left. So let's quickly do that. So we say left should be 2. Let's make left 0. Guess we're having some collisions right here. This should be medium. Okay. Then this should be left of 0. This should be 4. It should still be medium. Then lastly, it should be 0. Okay, let me inspect to see what is happening right here. I think it's because it's being centered, yeah. So let me try and say text should be left, if that will fix the issue. Okay, so this was the issue, so make it to be like so, and we can increase this to be like 4. Let's make this so. Okay, so it's not bad. Let me just say 1.8. all right, we'll leave it as it is. That should be fine. Okay, so this is working, but we want to get rid of this after some seconds, so we don't want to see this every time. So we just come right here and bring in a use effect, and it should be an empty array for now. I'll call this timeout. This should be set timeout. This should take a function, and this should run for let's just run this for 2 seconds, so 2000 milliseconds, and we want to set the message and the text should be empty as well as the type, so it should be empty as well. Then so we also want to return and just clear out. So we say, what's this method called? Okay, clear timeout, rather than just passing the timeout. And we should also pass in the message as well, which means we have to check if there's a message there, and if there's a message, we just put everything right here. So this should be gone after 2 seconds. So if we still have a success message, that will still be gone after 2 seconds too. All right, cool. So the next thing to do is to send the email to an endpoint. So before it handles submit, we just create function called create subscription. And this function is going to taking an email that the user inputs, and it's going to be an async function because we're actually sending a request to the database, which will take some time to do. So inside this we'll add a try and catch block. So it should be error, and we'll say response should be await, and say fetch. Then we'll create the endpoint, say API. Let's just call this add subscriber, or whatever you want to call it. I'm actually bad at naming stuff. Can't I spell? Subscribe should be a C. Okay. Then we'll add the command. We want the method to be a post. Then we want the headers to be content type of application JSON, and the last thing is the body. So the body should be JSON stringify, and we'll just stringify the actual mail. So this should be error. So let's try to still catch any error before we log out this response. So we say if the error is instance of error, then we console. No, let's just pass in the error inside the set message and say the text should be that message and the type should be error. All right, cool. So we also need to put this inside data and say await response.json, and let's console the log data now. All right, cool. So what we want to do next is to pass in this function when we submit. So you can say create another variable and call it response and say create subscription, and this needs an email, and this should be marked with async as well. We await this, and let's just console log this for now. So we'll say console log response, and we should also put this in a try and catch block. So we say try catch. All right, so paste this one here, and we'll just still log out the error for now. We might change this later on. Okay, what else? We still need to set the is loading to true, and need to add the finally and set it loading to false. So this is finally right here. What it simply does is that if the response, if there's actually a response, stop the loading state. Then if there's an error as well, still stop the loading state. So it fits both cases. All right, so what we have to do right now is to go to our button and cut this for now and say if it's loading, then we want to show loading. You can put a spinner here if you want to. Then if it's not loading, this should be what should show, and we also want to disable the button as well. So we say it's loading. So if it's loading, the user should be able to click the button. right, so right now we're going to get an error if we try to add an email. So we say john@gmail.com because we've not created the endpoints yet. So for us to be able to create the endpoint, Astro made it easier for us. Don't worry about this error, it's coming from the console ninja extension. So we just have to go to our pages directory, create a folder called API, and inside that folder you just specify the route. So you say, let's call this add, what did we ever call it? So this right here should match what you called it right here. So this should be add subscriber.ts. Hope that is correct. We'll know in a minute. So what Astro does is that when you hit that endpoint or when you build the file, it strips out the TypeScript and it reads it like a normal endpoint and a normal endpoint. All right, so if we head over to the docs, you realize that where it's located. Okay, so Astro preview your site statically. So for us to be able to send a request to our database, we need to go to our astro.config file and set the output to be server. And the reason why I'm setting this to be server is that we want to build the page when we request for the page, because by default is on static, which means the page is pre-built already. So this can still be hybrid. Hybrid is just the best of both worlds, but we'll use server for now. We'll use server in this project. I'm still saying for now. All right, so now if we go to endpoint, just like normal endpoints, you still use HTTP methods like get, post, delete, and stuff like that. So we actually want the one for post. So copy this and we go to that file and paste it right here, and we just need to import this one. All right, cool. So in case if you don't know the method you want to use, you can just write all here. It's going to automatically figure it out. But since we are sending a post, we should just make it a post. All right, so for this, for us to know this is working, we say you just submitted an email. Okay, just say you just submitted your email here. All right, so let's check right now and say john@gmail.com. You can see we're getting a response that we've just submitted our email. So if we still go right here, rather we shouldn't see it on our server, we should still see it right here. All right, so what we want to do now is if we head back to our code and we go to our subscriber, you see that we're just logging this out now, but we want to actually insert, we want to grab the email the user sent and insert it on our database. So we'll first of all create our database and write the logic to actually insert that email to our database. So go back to our browser and go back to endpoints. So Astro still makes this easier. If you go to AstroDB, first thing you have to do is to just copy this command right here to install Astro DB. So paste this one right here. Let's just do it here. All right, we'll say yes. Then we'll say yes again, accept everything. So it's just basically it has just basically added it to our project. So clear this, and we'll go back to our Astro config. See that it's added here, and you notice that this folder has been created for us. So what we need to do is to configure our database, and for us to do that, we just simply think, okay, we'll just work with this one, but you can as well follow the docs, so it's still basically the same stuff. Or should you just work from here direct? Okay, so just say before this one, we'll create our table and we'll call this subscription. This should be defined table. Then inside it, create our columns. So the first one will be ID, and we'll say column dot, this should be a number, and it should be primary key true, set to true. What did I just do? Okay. Then the next one is going to be the email, and we should add a comma there. So this should be column.text, like so. Then we just need to pass in the subscription right here. So we successfully configured our database. Right now we just have to seed the database by inserting some data inside. So we come here, and under this to do, we say await db dot insert, and say subscription dot values. Then this should be an array of objects, and we just need to pass in the email right here, because we don't need to pass in the ID. It's going to notice we have an ID and just do the heavy lifting for us. Seems we're having some issues right here. So we say cannot find subscription. Did you mean push subscription? No. This is what we mean. What is going on? Let's go back to, should be the same.
10 years later.
Alright, so what you have to do is, if you're having this error and it's telling you that you can't, your file path is not correct, I believe this message, just have to close your VS Code and open it again. So if I highlight, you can see that it's coming in right now. Alright, so that is for that. Alright, so what we have to do right now is to close this. I believe we don't need this again. Then go to this our route, and the first thing we want to do is let's just, I'm going to get some squiggly line here. That's fine, because it needs a response, which we'll fix shortly. Okay, so the first thing to do is to get the email from that has been sent from the front end, and say await request.json, and this should be async. Alright, so I want to still validate the email on the back end as well. So we say if there's no email, we just return, I believe I should just, okay, let's just type it out. So we say return new response. This should be JSON the stringify, and we want to pass this error to show this message on our front end as well. And outside this, hope I'm not wrong. Okay, so the status will be 400, which is a bad request, and the header should be content type application JSON. All right, cool. And this should be stringify. So now what we want to do is to check if there is an existing subscriber, or okay, let's just try to add a new subscriber first before we check if there's an existing subscriber. So we'll catch error right here, and inside this catch block we'll just create a variable and call this subscription, and we await db.insert. Basically want to insert something into our subscription table. So say subscription, it is going to be imported from Astro DB, and the values should be email. These as well need to be imported. Okay, fine. So you insert it, and we also need to pass in a response. It should be return new response, and still going to our JSON, just stringify subscription. What is going on? Subscription, and this should be a status of 200, and this, just copy this down as well. All right, cool. So for a case of errors, what we'll do is to copy this and paste it here and just make some few tweaks, and this should be server side. So say something went wrong. All right, so let's try to console out a user that has been added. Let's see if it works. So we just console the log subscription, and we'll go back to our code, and before that, let's still go back and go to our newsletter and say if there's an email, if response, then we'll set message to be a text of you. I believe, what was the message again? Let me copy it. Okay, I can't copy it from here. Did I write this out? All right, so the text is you've been subscribed. Then let's see, let's just add a check mark here. Okay, and the type should be sources. So we're getting an error from here. Expression of type void can be tested. Let's see, I believe it's from here. So for this, before or after this, we'll just check if the response is okay. So if your response is not okay, so response dot okay, we'll just throw new error, say throw new error, and we'll say data error. Then we just return that data. I think this should fix it. Yeah, so we're actually returning something now. That's why this is, the error has gone. All right, cool. So what we will need to do is to pass in the error message. Sorry, pass in the success message, I mean. So should we do this under the form? Okay, let's just do it right here under the button. So we say message type success, then we'll just create a p tag and pass in that text right here, and let's just give this a class name of margin top of 4. All right, cool. So let's go to our browser and check it out. So say John email.com, fingers crossed. So you've been subscribed. All right, cool. So we need to actually see that on. Okay, so we won't actually get the actual text right here, but we see that one row has been affected right here. I don't know if there's a way to show that right here. The only way I know of is to actually select to query it directly for me, which will take a long process and is not really needed for stuff like this, because we just want to leave it on our database. So what we'll do right now is to get rid of this one. We'll save, get rid of this as well. And now we want to create our studio. So I believe that should be right here. So create new studio. You just have to do these following commands. So yeah, we'll just say let's just kill this terminal right here and do it here. So paste this in. All right, so if it's your first time, it should tell you to connect your GitHub repo and email, I believe. So once you are done with that, close it and just link it. So we say this should be here as well, Astro link. All right, so we want to actually create our own studio. So we'll say yes, link with an existing Astro file, no, create a new studio, yes. What's your name? We'll just use the default name. You can use where it's closer to you. I'll just stick with North America. So give it a minute for it to create a new project for us. So project has been linked. And one more thing we have to do is to just push our basically push our data that we have to our DB. So you can see that it's connecting to remote DB and say connected to remote database. All right, so we'll clear this out. So before we open our studio, we'll just go to package your JSON file, and we want to configure our server to actually work directly with our production studio. So we'll copy this down. I can call this devdb and mark this as remote. In case you're wondering, this is not coming from the top of my head. Everything is still on the Astro Docs. So for build, we should still mark this as remote. So now we can actually work on dev mode, and the changes we make will be affected on production. Alright, so what we'll do right now is to do npm run dev db. Believe that's what I called it, right? Let me quickly do a quick check. Right, you can see that it's connected to our remote database. So what we'll do right now is to just go to studio, I believe studio, yeah, the Astro build slash, if it's your GitHub name you use, just pass it right here. So I'll open this. Now I have two projects. This was the one I was initially working on before creating the video. So this is the one, but yours you should have one. So we'll open this, I'll go to database. So we don't have any data right now. So let's try to add the data to see if it gets added. So we say John gmail.com. Okay, we're having an issue. I don't know why that behaved like that. Let's try one more time. All right, okay. So that was fast. So if we check right now, you can see that the email is being pushed to our Astro database. So, but the issue right now is that if I try adding it again, you see it gets added multiple times. But we just want a user to add his email once. I also need to clear this as well. So let me just quickly do that. So newsletter, and believe, yeah, so as soon as the form is submitted, we just clear the input field. Let's test that again. Submit. Okay, so that's working. So this should be created another time. So for us to stop that behavior, we'll go back to our add subscriber.ts file, and inside this try and catch block, we'll just say call this variable existing subscriber, yeah. So what we have to do is just say await, and db we select from. So this select is selecting all the records. I will tell you why I'm selecting all the records in a bit. So selecting all the records from subscription, then we'll add a find, and what we want to do is essentially we want to find the user and that user email. We want to check if that user email matches the email on the field. All right, cool. So if it matches, we want to now throw an error. So we can copy this here and paste this here. I will say this should be email already exists, and this should be 409. So this one is a conflict status code. All right, so let's try it out again and see. We should also get the error message here. So we say John at gmail.com. So you see that we're having the 409 error, and if we check, we won't see it another time. So let me get rid of everything again. So if I try adding John at gmail.com, see it gets added right here. And if I try adding it again, see it tells you that okay, I think okay, so it's correct because this has no L and there's L here, so it works. So let's just try it one more time. So john@gmail.com. Hopefully we spell that right and it shouldn't work. Okay, yeah, cool. So I believe that's everything. What we have to do right now is to deploy it on Netlify. So we need to add Netlify as an integration. So go to adapter, adapter API. So let's just quickly search for Netlify. All right, so add this right here. Say yes. So also say yes to this. All right, cool. So we have Netlify on our project. So what we have to do right now is to let's just kill this terminal again. I want to quickly add this to our GitHub. So we say git believe add and git commit. We'll say first commit, and we'll head up back to GitHub right here. So say GitHub. So go to your own GitHub account. I believe I didn't create that project. Okay, so create a new project. And what did we call this? Let's check again. Philo landing page YouTube. So Philo landing page YT. Okay, create repository. And we'll just copy this right here. We'll paste it here. Copy this one. Paste it here. And lastly, we'll just copy this. Paste it here. Alright, cool. So we'll refresh this and our file should be showing right now. Okay, so what we have to do is to go to Netlify website, and make sure you have an account. I'm going to log in, and I also have a video on how to on 3 ways I deploy an application on Netlify. So that video is going to pop up right now on the card. So let me quickly log in. Okay, so we want to add a new site and we want to import an existing project. So call this GitHub. We'll select GitHub rather. So I'm already authorized. It should tell you to put your password if it's your first time. I will search for Philo landing page. I believe it should show YouTube, this one right here. Okay, so this site name should be Philo landing page YT. We'll check if it's available. Yeah. All right, so before deploying, for your data to get synced to your DB on production, you have to create a token. So simply just go back to your studio and go to settings and go to tokens. So if you open this right now, so I'm going to generate a token, but I don't want it to say it. So I'll be right back when I've copied it, but just try and generate yours. Alright, so I've copied mine, and you should be able to copy it just once, so don't lose it except you have to create a new one. So I'll just have to paste it here. So you can't see everything, so it's fine. You can see this pipe, but you can't see the whole stuff. So this should actually this should be in the value, then the name should be this one right here. So it must be this one. Then we'll paste this and deploy. Hopefully everything works fine. So site deploy in progress. You can actually track the deploy right here. Alright guys, so the site has been published, so let's preview it. Alright, cool. So everything is working fine. So let's just close out all these because we don't need them again. And oh, so you've already seen this, which means I am going to take it down and create a new one. So what we do is to check if this is working fine. So let's try and create another email. So say sticks gmail.com. and get started. So yeah, something weird just happened because that's supposed to be under, which we'll fix shortly. But let's check if that email went through. So refresh this. So you see this email got added right here. Alright, so before we end the video, let me just go to newsletter and let me put this one right here. Let's just put it under this and just do a git commit, call this new commit. So we'll push changes right now and automatically Netlify is going to trigger a new build for us. Alright, so our site has been republished again. So let's check if the success message will be at this bottom. So we say Smith at Gmail. Okay, so it's working fine now. So Smith is supposed to pop up right here. Okay, cool. Alright guys, so that's the end of the video. Hope you now know a little bit about how Astro works, and let me know in the comment if you have any questions, as well as if you want me to keep the mistakes I make, or if you want me to get rid of them and make the video a bit shorter. See you next time.